Great. But look, I'm not gonna lie. I ain't even gonna cap. Even if they say he paid them, he could have been had these niggas on payroll. Like, he could have been paying them for music, feel me, for being workers under his LLC or anything. Like, they gotta really prove that he paid these niggas to kill somebody.
Money man.
And,
you know, we could say it came.
Bro, he gonna bust their ass.
Or legal means with
what?
His career.
I'm telling you.
But if his career is all about this type of stuff, isn't it intermingled? We'll find out later. Anyway, let me get back to it.
Close to him that was wearing a wire that would be willing to testify as to his involvement, because his involvement right now is kind of tangentially involved,
right?
Where he's the funder, but there's no direct allegation that he said, hey, this is what I want done. There's an allegation that he spoke in code and he could have said this and all these different things, but there's no allegation that says, hey, this is what he said and this is what was going to happen.
And to be clear, when we're talking about this, obviously there are multiple people involved. You can't have a conspiracy unless there are several people involved, especially something like
if he was talking to code,
banks might be the
they can't prove nothing with
that are called out in the indictment.
If he's talking to code, they can't prove nothing with that.
In the indictment, we have Kevon London Grant, we have DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, we have Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and
y'all seen that shit of Bonnie? This nigga took $200K from Bonnie. What the fuck? Holy, nigga took 200 bands. What the fuck? Who the hell this nigga is? What the hell? What the fuck? Nigga took 200K out the Chase safe account. What the fuck? As soon as he died, 200 bands ain't bust down Dukes. That shit better not be true. I seen the nigga Instagram. My nigga got the Louis V Forces on, gang. Nigga spending $6K on shoes. I thought that boy's having that shit. He stole Vine money. He stole the money that I was saved up for Dukes. He stole the money that I was saved up for Dukes. Nah, gang. Ain't no way. That can't be real. That's not real.
Asa Houston, and the indictment.
Oh, bro, I seen that. I seen that argument. I was being nosy. On bro grave, I went to everybody page that they was tagging, and the brother too, the cousin, whatever one he was.
The indictment also names 5
motherfucker that turned into a stud or whatever.
One of them in the indictment, he's referred to by his initials DB or co-conspirator 1. So here's a little bit of background on this case, and it really starts in 2020 because that is when
his right to speedy trial being violated. Man, what? That nigga been in that bitch for so long. Who you think telling the truth?
For example, assault at the direction of banks and to maintain their status in OTF. For example, based on,
I ain't gonna lie. I think what's the name telling the truth. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I think the God sister telling the truth. Like, she talking about the other motherfucker came in there looking for the hard drive as soon as he died. Damn. What the hell? What the fuck? Yeah, like, I think she telling the truth. Like, damn. She sitting in the closet reminiscing. She hear motherfuckers opening cabinets, gang. She in the closet reminiscing while motherfuckers opening up cabinets and shit. Hell nah.
On evidence collected during the investigation, including the interview of one of witnesses, I know that Banks put a monetary bounty out for an individual with whom Banks was feuding.
Then motherfuckers lied about why they wasn't with him. Or why they wasn't at the event whole time they was really there. Motherfucker said they wearing his chains. Motherfucker said that they wasn't even there. Then come to find out they was there. Like, what the fuck? That's crazy work. How do I tell you? That's insane.
Named TB. And then there's a footnote at the bottom of that page that reads, Due to serious safety concerns, this affidavit does not provide the identity of these witnesses. Based on the FBI's investigation, I know that witnesses and or their family members have already received threats and or have been contacted in what appears to be attempts to influence
They
their
better take notes from
participation
ATK?
in
What you
this
mean?
investigation. What do you make of that, Bradford?
So it's basic. Like a lot of these allegations, you can almost take each one of these and put them into every case that we've seen as of late, where witnesses are either contacted or witnesses are offered a monetary amount not to testify. And sometimes that comes with a civil case. Like if there's a civil matter that's outstanding, they might say, hey, listen, there's a civil matter that you could have, and we're going to give you a settlement of XYZ. The feds automatically take that as you're buying off a witness. So it just depends on the facts of those circumstances. Like I've seen it many times where the feds read into it differently than you would if you just read it yourself, wherein people are trying
I ain't gonna
to
lie.
influence the friend of
Some
a friend
people
to
gotta just be on their
contact
side,
you and
bro.
say,
I
like,
ain't
hey,
gonna
listen,
lie.
this isn't a good idea to be a witness in a federal
Some
case.
people gotta just be on
The
their
feds
side.
take
He
that as,
beating
oh,
this
hey,
shit.
this is,
How do I tell you?
Bob Smith influencing this witness because he's friends with this person who's friends with that person.
He beating this
A
bitch,
lot of times that doesn't
bro,
shake
grave.
out the way that they put it in the indictment.
Then,
And they
not
put
only
that in
that,
the indictment specifically.
bro, you know how
for
long it
bond
took this nigga
purposes,
to
right?
actually blow up in a
when
rap
you go
game?
in
Took
for
that nigga like
bond,
10
They
years.
say, hey, listen, this guy's trying to influence everybody, and here's
That
all these
nigga
things.
stayed down
But
for
when
this
you
shit.
actually get into the case,
It's not getting
sometimes
took
those
away
things
like
don't shake
this.
out, and then it's already too late because you already moved for bond and you didn't get bond.
That's the same thing that's happening with Sean Combs. I mean, well, that's
Correct.
a little different because he's not charged specifically with obstruction, but it's part of the racketeering count. I read this indictment. I didn't see anything that Lil Durk is charged specifically with obstruction or witness.
They need to stop
tampering. It's
showing
more
this
the
picture.
conspiracy. There's also
God
federal weapons
damn.
charges. So does that give you pause too that he's not? I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong that he wasn't directly charged. with
Bro,
anything
they
like
keep
witness
the
tampering or
comparisons is
It
terrible.
always gives me pause. Whenever the feds
They keep
throw an
comparing
indictment
Diddy
in, it gives me
Diddy to
pause right
fucking
away.
Durk.
Because a lot of times
What
you'll
the
see in the
fuck?
indictment, there's a lot of accusations in the indictment that when you start getting into it and it starts kind of flushing out the facts, they stretch
Oh, he cooked.
what could be a basic fact, they stretch it into something that it's not.
He cooked.
Yeah, and I've seen this time and time again. So in this case, it could be individuals that are loosely associated with OTF or that is signed
his
to the
ass cooked.
label or something
That's
else.
against God's will right there.
And they're trying
He
to
was
put
doing shit for
whatever
no
they
reason.
did onto Dirk Banks. So that's
right,
the issue
right.
here, right? Is that they're just
See,
lumping them all together.
Dirk,
They'll
if
just
Dirk
say, hey,
really
listen,
did this shit,
because
it was
this guy
for a
did
reason.
that, obviously,
This nigga,
Dirk is the
Didio,
leader of
that nigga
OTF.
Didio was just
He
doing
must have
shit
known
for no
what was
reason.
Going on, therefore, he shouldn't get.
He
a
was
bond
just-
because this
he
is
was
a dangerous
fucked up.
gang, and etc. You notice they stopped short of saying this is a dangerous gang and said this is a dangerous association of individuals that known as OTF, which I thought was interesting because generally speaking, when it comes to any of these rap groups, so like there's OTF and YNW and YSL, and they all say like, hey, all of these nicknames, this is all a gang. And even though it's a record label, it's also a gang, and that's kind of their argument with every single one of these, and that's going to be their argument here. But I thought it was interesting in the indictment, it didn't specifically say gang, it said an association of individuals that go under OTF. I thought that was kind of interesting because I don't know what kind of evidence they have to say OTF is or is not a gang legally, the legal definition.
I thought it was PTSD from the YSL trial. Let's not rush to call anything a gang because of all the trouble there. That's a separate conversation. We can have a long talk about that. Okay, but this I think could be problematic for Lil Durk, and I'll get into this because on the morning of October 24th, we have federal and local.
Wait,
law
what they
enforcement.
found
They
in the
execute these search
baby
warrants
oil bottles?
in
What you
Chicago.
mean? What they
arrest
found in
Brad,
there?
Wilson Jones, Lindsey Houston. And that is when they learned that Banks had booked multiple flights that were leaving the country. The affidavit says the FBI received notifications from U.S. Customs and Border Protection showing that Banks had been booked as a passenger on 2 international flights, a one-way flight from Miami to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, connecting through Doha, Qatar, scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th, and one-way flight from Fort Lauderdale to Switzerland, connecting via New Jersey, also scheduled to depart the evening of October 24th. Now, Banks didn't board either flight, but at approximately 6:40 p.m., the FBI received an additional CBP notification that Banks had been booked as a passenger on a private plane departing Miami and destined for Italy, scheduled to depart at approximately 9 p.m. At approximately 8 p.m., Banks was arrested by law enforcement in the vicinity of the departing airport. So, Bradford, I mean, that seems to be evidence that he might have been trying to leave the country. You tell me what you make of that.
So, I make a couple different things of that. So the first part of that is all the countries.
What the fuck is what type of drugs is that?
That he has, that Dubai is gonna.
I ain't gonna lie. He wasn't. I'm gonna look that up out there, but Durk wasn't. That nigga Durk was not booking flights to flee the police. They as dumb as whoever was saying that is dumb as shit.
And
he wasn't booking all these flights to run from the warrant. What the fuck? Cause if he was doing that shit to run from the feds, he would have went to fucking Dubai, so they couldn't extradite his ass. He was booking all these flights to see if he had a warrant. Oh, bro.
Seems to be evidence that
he wanted to see if he had a warrant
to leave the country. You tell me what you make of that.
So,
yeah, he booked him to see if he had a warrant.
So the first part of that is all the countries that he has.
He did not try to flee. Look,
Dubai is going to extradite you.
That's what I thought. All these countries are sending you to America.
Switzerland's going to extradite you. These countries are going to extradite. You know, the only places that don't extradite are like you go to Vietnam, you go to Morocco. There's certain countries that don't extradite, like strictly don't extradite. All these other countries, even if they don't have a treaty with the U.S. for extradition, they're going to extradite because they rely on the U.S. for money. They rely on the U.S. for support. Switzerland,
great.
Italy will deport you in about 10 seconds. They'll extradite you in 10 seconds. So I don't make much of whether or not he was going to escape and
don't
flee
extradite
the country. I think more than likely, and sometimes this happens, when
somebody said, "What about Bali?" I see y'all on Rumble. I see you, Beast.
it was unusual that there were so many booked. Right. What's not unusual is sometimes where an individual doesn't know whether or not there's a warrant out for their arrest, and I've seen this before happen in the past, where some associates get arrested. And in order to see whether or not they have a warrant, because that's not public knowledge, whether or not they have a warrant, they'll book an international flight and it'll red flag them. And then they'll get a call from the FBI or their lawyer will get a call and they'll say like, hey, your client's red flagged. They're trying to leave the country. Just so you know, they're under investigation or XYZ. And you find out information you wouldn't necessarily find out. Now, I don't know if that's the case here because there were so many that were booked, but I have seen that before in the past where a client will call me and say like, hey, Bob Smith got arrested. Can you check if I have a warrant? We can't check if there's a warrant. Oh, no one tells us there's a warrant. So
just to be clear about that, so you're saying instead of they didn't have an option where he calls his lawyers and say, hey, can you check with the feds to find out if there's a warrant out for my arrest? That wouldn't work. So you're saying this is a way for him to find out, hey, am I in trouble? I'm going to book these flights and see if they get flagged.
Sure. And it's happened before. Now, the difference here is there's so many flights. You know, there's 2 or 3 flights that were booked. That's the weird part of it. But it wouldn't be weird for me to see someone that books a flight to the Bahamas. They book a flight to, Italy or Spain. And then, within 6 hours of booking that flight, they get a call or we get a call. That happens quite often. Now, it depends on your lawyer. Like, for example, me, if somebody says to me, hey, do I have a warrant out? And, my associate got arrested. I've been doing this so long, I can make a phone call and not necessarily find out if there's a warrant, but I'll find out. They'll tell me, hey, listen, don't have your guy leave the country. Like he's being watched. And then I know, okay, just let me know if I need to surrender him or whatever I need to do. And that's the relationship that you build over 30 years. Not everyone
That
can do
nigga been in the game
That's
for
an
30
interesting,
years,
that's an interesting
King.
alternative explanation.
Nah,
I'm
shit, I'm watching
it
this
will
Lil
come out
Durk
in
case,
a
Cheryl.
bond. Excuse me, in a bond hearing if he's questioned about that. So let me go now to these
He not getting no
alleged
bond.
co-conspirators.
I don't
What
think he
exactly
getting no
happened
bond.
here? We have to make sense of it. So the indictment that was filed in the Central District of California gets into it, and it says that all of them conspired and
that
agreed
nigga
with
not
each
getting
other
no
to
bond.
knowingly use facilities of interstate and foreign commerce, namely airplanes, cars, cell phones, and the internet, with intent that the murder of TB be committed in violation of laws of any state, namely the state of California, as consideration
Cali
for the
lenient,
receipt
though,
of
but
and
he ain't getting no
consideration for a
bond.
promise and agreement to pay.
That nigga
anything
Polo
of
G done got
pecuniary
caught with,
value,
like, 4
including money
guns.
and lucrative music opportunities with
They get a
OTF.
nigga
So
a bond
this is a
every
murder for hire
time. They
plot
lenient,
in
but
exchange
this
for
type
career
of case,
opportunities or money. And
his
according to the
grits.
FBI and other investigators, Banks was the one who put out this call for a bounty. And then he got word that his apparent target, Bowman, was going to be visiting Los Angeles. So authorities say they have proof that Banks and or OTF provided the funds for 5 people to fly from Chicago to San Diego and then apparently drive to Los Angeles, with the plan being to kill Mr. Bowman. The indictment
They
lays
coulda
out
booked
what they
their
call
own
overt
flights.
acts that they say this group committed in furtherance of this conspiracy. You can't just have an agreement; you have to have overt.
Nah, I
acts,
said
overt
Cali
steps
be
that were
lenient.
taken to
I
actually
know that.
commit this crime, and the apparent proof ties it back to all the defendants. For example, one overt act says on August 18th, 2022, co-conspirator
Nah, I don't know.
texted co-conspirator.
I don't know if Polo G shit be state cases though. Nah, I don't think all of them is, because Caligio has like two a year of bullet or some shit. No cap. They shit crazy. They shit like damn. They shit like fucking New York. What up, Mari? They shit like New York.
Conspirator 3, don't book no flights under no names involved with me. So again, that's allegedly Lil Durk writing that. There are text messages between 3 of the defendants showing that they had the same airline ticket information. One of them also messaged someone on Instagram to say, on my way to LA. And it's also being reported that Banks himself allegedly flew to Southern California on a private plane, was staying at a hotel in the San Fernando Valley, and authorities say they have camera footage that puts him there. Grant, who was allegedly a top OTF associate,
Apology,
bought
had federal
ski
cases,
masks,
motherfuckers
got
know.
cars, then gave 3 people guns, including one that had allegedly
No, sir.
been converted into a machine gun. This is a federal crime.
No,
this is
sir.
what prosecutors are alleging Grant did. And the indictment says that 6 people total, they traveled in 2 cars to the hotel in downtown LA where Bowman was supposedly staying. They allegedly started following Bowman, who was in a black Escalade with his cousin, Savia Robinson, known as SR. The indictment includes photos from a traffic camera showing the white Infiniti the suspects were in, seemingly following the black SUV. And the indictment says that the suspects then followed the Escalade to a Beverly Hills gas station, parked in an alley. And the indictment reads, on August 19th, 2022, at the Beverly gas station, the defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 used the firearms procured by defendant Grant, including the fully automatic firearm, to shoot at TB's car, striking and killing SR, who was standing next to TB's car while TB was inside. And the images below show defendants Jones and Lindsay and co-conspirator 2 firing their guns at TB's black Escalade. So we have the death of SR. TB survived this attack.
Oh, this nigga was standing outside the car?
Surveillance photos of what prosecutors say are the suspects appearing to fire guns towards the gas pumps. And you can see it's daylight in these photos at a gas station in the middle of Beverly Hills. So Bradford, whoever was responsible for this, what a
now how can they prove that them niggas pulled them triggers? How can they see that? Like, how can you prove that them 3 niggas was behind the gunfire? If them niggas ain't take no phones and they ain't get their face caught on camera, the state of California is cooked. It's over with, bruh. They gotta prove that them niggas shot them guns.
Talk to me how strong
Murder case is the easiest case to beat.
This case is based on
as long
what
as
I've
you
been
did
saying.
your
If they're
job
trying to
right.
prove- if the prosecutors are trying
Bro.
to prove conspiracy, what do you?
They don't matter. Exactly. They go to somebody being an informant. They got to prove that was actually them. They got to prove that it was actually them.
Think of some
That's
of
going to
this
be hard to do if them niggas did what they were supposed to do. They did that shit right. It's going to be hard to prove it.
Durk will still have a defense.
See?
I think that
he going to still have a defense.
That's going on. Obviously, no one does. From what I'm reading in the indictment, I think there's some missing pieces there when it comes to Durk about how involved he was in this alleged conspiracy. The other guys, where they all have plane tickets, they all got a car, they're on tape. That's going to be a very difficult case for those lawyers who have that case, because and I've said this multiple times on multiple cases. There are so many ways these days to catch individuals.
Even if they did use the OTF credit card, bro, all he got to say is, I've been doing this shit. He been booking their flights. This ain't nothing new. That nigga been paying for their flights. Yeah, if they took their phones, how do I tell you that cell phone tower gonna ping their ass? That bitch already punged their ass in 2022. How do I tell you? But I ain't gonna lie, they still gotta prove that he sent them out there to do that, because he been booking flights. If he had an event going on out there, he could say he had an event going on out there, or it was a reason why he went out there. And as long as he got solid proof, they can't prove that shit. That OTF credit card still don't mean nothing. He been booking a flight since 14 years ago. That nigga been booking a flight since 14 years ago. How do I tell you? He been booking a shit. This is nothing new. And he got so many receipts to prove that shit. None of them niggas never had to pay for their flights. Ever. That nigga been booking their shit. And I know that for a fact. I know for a fact. I ain't gonna lie. Every rapper pay for their homeboys' flights. This is a proven fact. I know this for sure. You got to. You can't go out. You can't go out of the country. I mean, you can't go out of state by yourself. And you getting paid to go out of state, so you got to pay for their flights. It's just, you got to do it.
In this type of crime, where you have cell phone records, GPS data, you're going to have cross-reference on the phones, what phones are together at what times. You're going to have car rental agreements. You're going to have videotapes. It's real funny because very often you find these red light cameras and things like that the feds get on state cases where I want the footage, where I know it's good for my client. They're like, sorry, we don't save that footage. But somehow the feds get, camera footage from red light cameras, camera footage from the next door neighbor, camera footage from some guy who's just randomly on the street. So you'll see that they will put together a forensic case against the actual shooters that will be very heavily based on cell phone records, GPS data, and videotapes. Now, when it comes to Durk Banks, so far I've seen one text that says, "Don't have them associate my name with any kind of flights that they're taking." Certainly, that's not a good text, but is that the only text? Because that doesn't, that in itself doesn't stand on its own. Certainly, it's circumstantial. But like I said, we have to wait and see what other evidence they have.
Dirk said, "Don't use nothing involving his name and still use a credit card."
Tapes of him saying something.
Yeah, I see that.
I think that's a lot different than, hey, just make sure you don't associate my name with these guys.
I'm sure that's not the only thing he sent, though.
Grant
like
one of these other
lawyer
guys
said,
saying, like, hey, these guys.
Even if that's the only thing he sent,
and he's like, hey, listen, make sure.
He probably didn't want that. Like, that don't mean that he being sneaky. I don't want to use my money. I don't want to use my money this time. Shit.
It doesn't associate with me at all. You can look at that a million different ways. So I'm hesitant to say that they have, a slam dunk case on Durk Banks. I think that they have a long way to go on Durk Banks.
Long way. He gonna whoop that shit, bro. Grave. He whooping it.
I think the others. I think it's gonna be very heavily based on paperwork.
So in other words, I mean, look, I said it before, what a blatant attack. You're shooting in the middle of the day near gas pumps, which could explode. If you make the argument that the case against the shooters is really strong. Could there be a situation where they work out an attractive plea deal? I don't know what an attractive plea deal would look like for them, considering what they're facing and what the accusations are, where they turn on Lil Durk. I mean, what would be a scenario that would look that? What kind of deal could be worked out where you're working a deal out with the alleged shooters to go after the principal of this case? Or
they all gonna walk free
quite often in the past.
They all gonna walk free.
You know, the deal that
this
Sammy
shit
the
crazy
Bull worked out, right? The guy killed like 19 or 20 people. He ended up getting, I don't know, a year or two in jail followed by probation. If you told me that was a deal that someone would get for, you know, being associated with 19 or 20 murders, I would tell you that's an impossible deal to get. So it all depends on the hunger of the U.S. attorney and the AUSA that's involved. And if they want this individual badly enough, they'll make very attractive deals for these individuals. What does a very attractive deal look like? I think they go for the lowest hanging fruit. Whoever, you know, didn't actually kill the guy, you know, maybe someone that was involved that didn't actually shoot, or someone that shot but it didn't hit. You know, they're going to have forensics. Yeah. So they'll take whoever is the least culpable, and I think that they'll approach him and make a deal with him that'll be the most attractive. And if that guy doesn't make a deal, they'll move on to the next guy. So usually that's what happens, right? You go for the lowest hanging fruit first, the guy that you think will flip, the guy that didn't really have that much involvement. And I think what also is interesting with the indictment is it wasn't just money. They're like, oh, it could have been money or it could have been career advancement, which is, it's strange to mention that because they don't really go into any kind of facts about it. They just say it could have been, you know, that they would have advanced in their career. But what does that look like?
Yeah, they don't see. That's why I said they don't got enough evidence. Like, that's what they said. They ain't showed no proof of him saying he got a record label for them niggas, but they saying it though. Like, they putting that in the public eye with no info. But the two niggas that say, they say got hired off another hood, you know, they might flip.
Or they assumed it. And if they assumed it, that's a weaker case for the prosecution. If it was just like, oh, I assumed if I did this for him, you know.
And that's, so you got it. That's the key, right? They're like, hey, I knew if I helped him out, he would give me a record deal.
Now, let me put a
no proof.
By the way, I want to point this out continually. And, you know, I think it was somebody from THF who said this. And I just think this is very obvious. These guys who are charged are not contract killers, okay? They're not people who don't have any emotion, who don't have any ties to the situation. The get back for King Von, everybody who was in OTF, everybody who was a street nigga who was allegedly associated with Durk had an incentive to do. They have an incentive because people are saying the entire group got a slide for Von, not just only Durk. So it's kind of also plausible that Durk doesn't have to offer y'all money. Now, if he facilitates, I mean, that's still part of offering money, I guess, but not really. But that's part of him being a conspiracy, not necessarily murder for hire. Usually with murder for hire, it assumes that the people doing the killing have no interest in killing the person. They're being hired as murderers, they're being hired as killers, but they don't necessarily care either or that the person gets killed. In this situation, it's not the truth, right? Everybody wants to slide for Von, right? It's not just Durk saying, hey, here is this money, and that's going to come down to it. Because, you know, if they throw these innocuous things like, oh, career advancement, maybe he thought OTFDD was a great rapper. OTFDD sat with me on Off the Record. They were trying to promote the guy, clearly. Who knows if he was just like, oh, no, this is just payback for me trying to get your career off the ground because you killed this guy for me. We don't know. Like, that's something that could be argued. As opposed somebody saying, in a Dolph situation, you heard what that guy, the Cornelius guy said. He said, yo, I don't know. I'm Dolph from a can of paint. All I know, it was $50,000. I need $50,000. That's classic murder for hire. Classic, right? Classic murder for hire. How much money you getting? What was promised? What did you get? Now, sometimes what you get is not what you were promised. Obviously, because if the cops come in and they fuck it up. In the Dolph case.
Yeah, all right,
here,
nigga.
We don't know how much was promised.
Them niggas definitely don't got no. I know they don't got no proof for what they got on the back end.
Head. We don't know, and maybe we find out at a point. But right now we don't know.
He definitely gave them cash
after the shooting.
I could damn near merch that.
Apparently went to
and he didn't get them shit. Somebody else did.
About payment
for sure.
For the murder. Then they flew home to Chicago from San Diego. Wilson later paid Jones and Lindsay an undisclosed amount of money. That's how prosecutors say this murder plot ended. But the indictment, it charges the 5 named defendants and the 5 alleged co-conspirators with violation of the U.S. Code. It's 1958, use of interstate commerce.
I know Durk not no goofy.
Murder for hire. It's
Durk smart as shit.
Dealing with
he been ducking their ass for 10 years, bro.
Killed, Banks faces life in prison or possibly the death penalty if he's convicted. And all the defendants,
he's been ducking the feds for 10 years.
Firearm possession resulting in a death. The indictment says they knowingly used and carried firearms, including a firearm.
Shit, 14
Wilson,
to be exact.
Jones, Lindsay, and Houston knew to be a machine gun during.
Shit, 16 to be exact. That nigga been in the streets.
Firearms in furtherance of a crime of violence. In so doing, discharged the firearms, resulting in the death of S.R. And defendant Keith Jones, he's also charged separately for knowingly possessing a machine gun, namely a 10-millimeter caliber firearm equipped with an auto-sear conversion device, which was designed and intended solely and exclusively for use in converting
that nigga
a
put a switchy on the 10
gun,
milli.
Which defendant
that
Jones
nigga dangerous.
That wild talking about Quando Rondo.
What the fuck?
Our life is priceless.
That nigga was swinging the 10 milli with a switchy.
If I was somebody who's a street nigga, well, I guess it won't matter.
Nigga like me ain't even doing nothing with that. I know I'm not hitting nothing. How do I tell you?
About somebody who's not broke.
I'm not hitting nothing with a 10 milli, with a button on the back of a 10 milli.
The price
what the fuck?
Of you killing someone should not be the price of what you need or what their life is worth. The price should be
bro, great. That bitch gonna be glitching so crazy. That bitch,
right? How much like what?
Bitch, my shit gonna be all the way up here by the time I'm done.
Like someone,
bitch, you gotta start off down here.
But I want you to give me a price for you to kill them, not based on what you think they're worth, because you don't know that person.
You gotta just pray your shit, make it up here by the end of the clip.
I want you to give me a price based on
that bitch goes so fast.
The risk of getting caught.
Hell no.
Never going to tell on me.
I wouldn't even think about putting a button on the back of the 10 milli.
The rest of your life in jail. If you get caught. What's
hell no, not that low. That fuck around, hit a backflip shooting that bit.
The price on that risk is $50,000. First of all, I wouldn't even go for that because I'm not even trying to
tap a nigga, bro. If I got to switch you on even a non, I'm not even trying to head tap a nigga. Bro, you just gotta fill his ass up. Bro, grave. If you gotta switch you on anything, bro, there's no point in trying to head tap a nigga, bro. Just fill his ass up. And just stand over his on bro grave. Just stand over. Just fill his ass up. Stand over his on bro. If you fill him up like you need to, you don't even gotta stand over him though.
Sorry.
They better than me. Shit, I ain't.
50,000. I'm good. But that's how it should be looked at. I think when people think, oh, they got money on somebody's head. And you're like, oh, well, Dolph is 100,000. The people who were doing the murder should have said,
make them gain weight.
Would I consider taking this risk, which has
that boy put the button on the 10 milli?
90%. I'm gonna get caught ratio.
That nigga dangerous. 90%. And he probably scolded too. Was that the nigga who scolded? Who scolded? Was it this nigga with the 10 milli? What the fuck? Was it this nigga that scored with the 10 milli? It couldn't have been this nigga, right? This nigga a trained assassin. What the fuck?
There's a 10% chance I don't get caught. But I also have to move different.
They ain't released no information on who bullet landed? Oh, I was gonna say.
In a way
what
where
the
I wouldn't get caught. That's
this nigga said it's a 10% chance of not getting caught
in a way where, and be 90% I'm gonna get caught ratio.
Fuck no, it's not no 90% ratio.
And if I get caught, I'm doing life.
It's niggas that's got. It's niggas that's 100% right now.
But I also have to move different.
It's hella niggas that's 100%.
And be in a way where
it's more than 10%. I ain't gonna lie.
Cost a lot of money. Combine those two things. What's the price for that? Now that's usually for people who are smart. And obviously, one of the unfortunate things about most of these crimes we're seeing, these guys aren't smart. So it is what it is.
Machine gun.
I hate when they say nigga not smart because he
laid out
he's standing on biz.
What we know so far, we expect
that shit
at this
goofy.
point Banks to be extradited from Florida, where he was arrested, to California to face these charges. Talk to me about the next steps, particularly.
That nigga Vaughn said, "I need to start a class on how not to get caught."
That might work with
that shit easy as hell.
And how that's going to work.
He said, "If you get caught, you want to get caught."
Okay, so with Durk.
What happens is when that nigga different, boy. What the fuck?
Have 3 days to get together a bond pass if they request it. So you get arrested, you show up in front of a judge, you say, "Judge, we're not agreeing to pretrial detention," which is what the government always seeks on these type of cases, especially with this type of case. I don't think that they're going to seek the death penalty on this case. It's not one of those cases that would be appropriate for it. I'd be shocked. I mean, shocked. But long story short is, when you're arrested in
I knew they wanted death penalty. I knew they weren't going to do death penalty too.
Last time Feds tried to get death penalty in case. Let's look. Okay. We already see something here. Look at this. The federal government, this is 2019, to resume capital punishment after 2-decade lapse. So they didn't go after it for 2 decades. That shit did. Right? Like, they're not going to go after it for motherfucking Lil Durk. Up to the Attorney General's discretion is going to be these ones. Okay, and I guess these. Let me see. Capital punishment. When's the last time they've went after somebody for... No, those are assassins. List of people executed by the... Okay. When's the last time? All right, the last time appears to be 2001. Yeah, you got to be a terrorist. Look, this guy bombed like a federal building or some shit like that. Like, yeah, you're dying, nigga. Eight federal law enforcement.
I mean, he ain't wrong.
Got killed.
Use their own cars.
Okay, if they caught them niggas, them little hoodlums, them Aluwakbar niggas from motherfucking 9/11, they be over here too. Real talk. But nah. They ain't gonna kill no Lil Durk.
These niggas still be taking their phones, man. These niggas be rookies.
Another jurisdiction, you can move for bond in that jurisdiction. He can move for bond here.
And then our generation, though, niggas be killing.
California review that bond
to say they got it for image. Some niggas be killing for images.
I filed in Florida.
That shit goofy.
In Florida, but it's a case out of. Most recently, I had a case out of Massachusetts. The judge in Florida
niggas go kill for an image,
and the U.S. attorney in Massachusetts said, "I want the judge up here to revoke the bond," and that was denied. But I mean,
niggas still taking their phones.
The judge in Massachusetts
just to say they caught a hat.
So generally down here, what
dumb as hell.
Okay,
don't even know what you're doing.
The judge says, "Hey, you want a bond hearing?" I usually
nigga, this your life, bro. You supposed to make sure you doing everything right. What the fuck? It shouldn't be no errors at all. Phone number one rule, bitch. How you skipping past the number one rule? What the fuck? They don't give a fuck who they hit, man. What? Niggas hitting the wrong motherfuckers and all. Kids riding on scooters. Like, come on, gang. Oh, bro, D. That's crazy. Niggas be doing anything.
You say, yeah, I want a bond hearing here as opposed to California because of a couple different reasons. One is, if it's a judge that I know and I know how they behave in court, I can get a lot of information about the case. They put a case agent on, they might put another witness on, and I can find out a lot more details about the case so that when they do go to California, I'm kind of prepared with, okay, I know where they're going with the case,
crashing
what
out.
else they have. It's not just
for
image. One text, it's something else. I kind of see their case, and it prepares me to go to California and then have that case reviewed by the California judge. And now I'm even more prepared for that next bond hearing in front of the California judge. But I don't know what they're going to do in this case. They could just say, hey, judge, extradite him to California. The California lawyers are going to deal with the bond in California and move for bond there. And like I said, once he gets there.
I see some people say Trump would pardon him. Let me look up. When's the last time when has
finna wick my shit, free Banks?
President
you can't wick your hair?
Pardoned
what the
a
fuck?
Murderer.
Yo, I got long curly hair.
Well, they commuted and rescinded convictions of the. Okay.
You could put your hair in a ponytail.
Like,
you can't wick that shit.
Military court. Most presidents don't pardon murderers. Trump didn't make.
What? What you mean?
So he pardoned a war criminal. Okay, allegedly war criminal. Was American? Okay.
That nigga pardoned Kodak.
All right, and it wasn't even like a full pardon. It was like he commuted his sentence, I guess, right? Yeah, they're not like, again, obviously what people don't know. So the sitting president, which a lot of people don't, I don't know if y'all don't.
I can wick my shit. I done seen it. You can't wick your shit, Jesse. You gonna have to go to the wig lady.
They can only pardon.
You got to go to somebody to wick your shit.
Now, obviously, they could have a whole lot of influence if they wanted
your shit just can't naturally wick.
Crime to be pardoned.
You got that long hair that you can put in a ponytail like that.
To be completed, or like it could be a formality.
Zac Efron type of hair.
Pardoned if it needs to be completed, but the president of the United States deals with federal crimes, right? Your state governor could pardon state crimes, and again, most cases are state crimes. So, like, I keep telling y'all, we care so much about the president of the United States. Like, if you clapped a nigga in North Dakota, or not clap, because they're not gonna pardon a murderer, bro. But like, let's say it was some crime, you want the governor of that state.
That's what I'm saying.
Even like Meek Mill and like all this shit with like Philly, like Meek is no longer a felon.
Yeah, it ain't gonna wake up by itself.
Primarily because of not only the work the reform group did, but also the government.
Yeah, I'm already knowing, like, you got to do what the Island Boys did.
Appreciates how much Meek is done with the reform stuff, and they have made it that Meek is not a felon anymore. Meek could own a gun. You know what I mean? So again, state charges, governor. Federal charges, president. Okay? However, president could affect the state state charges just based on, because he just has so much power and the state relies on the feds.
His plea might be
as opposed to the feds
weak if he take
state.
that bitch. It got to be some little shit if he gonna take a plea.
Could a governor influence the president? I would probably think not, unless it's like a Texas, that those states, like, especially for Republicans, they need, or maybe California for like liberal or Democratic president, right? But not gonna happen anyway.
They'll have a couple days to prepare. The government will have a couple days to prepare. And now, because it'll take a week to get there, they'll have even more time to prepare. That's why I like to do them quick. I like to do bond hearings quick, because it doesn't give them that much time to prepare. And especially when you're in a different jurisdiction, the agent usually has to fly here, prep the U.S. attorney that's here. All those things come into strategy play. My guess is on this type of case, the judge is probably not going to give him a bond. That's my guess. I kind of know the facts. I know the attorneys that are involved. I don't see where the judge will be, especially the Florida judge would be like, yeah, this sounds like a case I'm going to give him bond and send him to
pleas I've seen been under 9 years to 75% of time served. How many years Bud done did? Like 3 years already?
Okay, that's pretty much it. Now,